You clicked on the right video because what you are about to find out changes how you see every single apex predator on Earth. Not just lions, not just sharks, all of them. And the answer is nothing like what you think. Most people assume the stare is aggression, a warning, a show of dominance. They are wrong. The stare is something far more calculated, far more frightening, and far more intelligent than anyone expected. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what is happening in those final silent seconds before the world's deadliest animals move. And trust me, stay until the last part, because the final piece of this puzzle is the strangest thing about predators that science has ever confirmed. Picture a lioness at the edge of a watering hole. She spots a zebra drinking 40 meters away. She goes completely still. Her eyes lock onto that zebra, and they do not move. She does not blink. She does not shift her weight. She does not make a sound. She just watches for 10 minutes, 20, sometimes 30. To anyone walking past, it looks like nothing is happening. But something extraordinary is happening. The lioness is running a full biological analysis. Her eyes are measuring the exact distance to the target. They are calculating the angle of approach. They are reading the wind direction. They are scanning the posture of the zebra's legs. Because here is what most people never consider. A lioness does not chase every zebra she sees. That would be suicidal. A healthy adult zebra at full sprint can deliver a kick powerful enough to shatter a lion's jaw. And a lion with a broken jaw cannot eat. A lion that cannot eat dies slowly. So before a single muscle twitches, the lioness has already asked one question. Is this worth it? The stare is the risk assessment, and it is the first step of a sequence that every apex predator on Earth shares. Scientists who study predator behavior call it the predatory sequence. Every major apex predator follows it. Step 1, eye. Step 2, stalk. Step 3, chase. Step 4, grab. Step 5, kill. Without step 1, nothing else happens. The eye is the trigger for everything, and this is not random behavior. This is hundreds of millions of years of evolution, hardwired into the nervous system of every top predator alive today. From the lion on the African savanna, to the great white shark in cold Pacific water, to the golden eagle circling at 10,000 feet. Every one of them stares first. Every one of them calculates first. And every single one of them has a specific reason. But the reasons are not all the same. And that is where this gets genuinely fascinating. Let us start with the great white shark, because sharks look like chaos. Most people see a shark attack as pure instinct, pure frenzy. But researchers who have spent decades observing white sharks in the wild have documented something completely different. When a great white approaches a seal colony, it does not simply charge in. It circles. Sometimes for 15 minutes, sometimes for 40. And during those circles, the shark's eyes are locked onto one animal, not the group, one specific individual. Marine biologists studying white shark predation found that sharks will identify and target seals that are separated from the group, or showing irregular swimming patterns. An injured seal moves slightly differently than a healthy one. Even a subtle asymmetry in the stroke, even a fractionally slower response to a ripple in the water. The shark detects this from 60 feet away, and the circling is the shark confirming what it suspects. Because a seal that is startled will dive. A seal that dives creates a chase. A chase burns energy. And in the ocean, energy is survival. A shark that misjudges a target and gets outmaneuvered by a healthy seal has wasted precious calories. In cold water, where prey is scarce, a failed hunt is not just embarrassing. It is dangerous. So the long circling observation is the energy calculation. The shark is always asking, what is the cheapest path to success? And it does not move until it has the answer. But here is where things take a strange turn. Because the stare does not just help the predator, it does something to the prey, something neurological, something the predator has evolved to actively exploit. When a prey animal becomes aware it is being watched, something happens inside its brain. A sudden, sharp activation of the threat detection system. Heart rate spikes, muscles tense, eyes dilate. And then, in many cases, something completely counterintuitive happens. The prey freezes. Not because it is stupid, not because it has given up, but because freezing is one of the oldest and most successful survival strategies on Earth. It is called tonic immobility. It is hardwired into the nervous systems of prey animals across hundreds of species. The logic is ancient and simple. A predator hunting by motion will chase a moving target. A predator that sees a motionless target may lose it in the visual clutter of the environment. So many animals, when watched by something larger than them, simply stop and stay stopped, hoping to vanish. The problem is that this strategy only works against predators that hunt purely by movement. Against an apex predator with high-resolution, forward-facing eyes and the patience to wait for as long as necessary. Freezing is a death sentence. And the great predators figured this out long ago. They have learned across millions of years of evolution that a staring contest always favors them. The longer they hold the gaze, the deeper the prey animal sinks into paralysis. The stare is not just observation, the stare is a weapon. This brings us to wolves, because wolves use the stare in a way that is unlike almost any other predator on Earth. And what researchers found when they studied wolf hunting behavior is something nobody expected. When a wolf pack encounters a herd of caribou or elk, they do not immediately give chase. They walk slowly through the herd, and they stare. Not at random animals, not at the whole herd, at specific individuals, and the animals they stare at begin to run. The ones that hold their ground, that face the wolf, that do not break eye contact, those animals are almost never chased. The ones that panic and bolt are selected immediately. Researchers studying wolf predation across multiple studies in North America found that wolves make their prey selection in the first few seconds of contact. A caribou that stands its ground and returns the wolf's gaze is communicating something specific. It is saying, "I see you. I am not weak. Chasing me will cost you more than I am worth." A caribou that bolts is saying the opposite. "Something is wrong. Chase me." So the wolf's stare is a behavioral test, a psychological probe. The wolf is not selecting prey based on how it looks, it is selecting prey based on how it responds to being looked at. This makes wolves among the most psychologically sophisticated hunters on the planet. They read the prey's mental state through the stare, and they use that information to hunt with extraordinary efficiency. Now let us talk about ambush predators, because for animals like tigers and crocodiles, the stare takes on an entirely different character. These animals cannot afford to be seen. They do not have the lion's open savanna or the wolf's open chase. They must get within striking distance first, and then they must wait. A Bengal tiger stalking prey through dense jungle will identify a target from far away. Then it will begin moving, slowly, silently, inches at a time. Wildlife cameras in India have captured tigers spending up to 45 minutes crawling through grass to close the distance on a single deer. During the entire approach, the tiger's eyes are fixed on the target, not blinking unnecessarily, not looking away, not distracted, locked. Because in the final fraction of a second, everything depends on knowing exactly where the prey will move. A tiger does not attack where the animal currently is. It attacks where the animal is about to be. This requires the kind of precise, continuous visual tracking that is only possible through an unbroken, sustained stare held for up to an hour. When the tiger finally breaks from cover, the distance it needs to close is usually less than 20 feet. The prey has almost no time to react, because the tiger already knows exactly what it is going to do. The hunt, sometimes an hour of patient staring, is decided in under a second. But here's the part that has made biologists genuinely uncomfortable, because some apex predators appear to understand not just that the stare helps them, but that being seen doing it changes what the prey does next. And they use that deliberately. There is a behavior documented in several large cat species called the directional stare. A cheetah, in some observed instances, has been seen staring at a gazelle from an exposed position, not hiding, deliberately visible. And the gazelle, instead of fleeing immediately, begins a behavior called stotting. It jumps, vertically, repeatedly, high off the ground, over and over. This seems insane at first glance. A gazelle bouncing up and down while a cheetah watches. But stotting is a precise communication. It is the gazelle signaling to the cheetah, "I see you. I am fast. I am strong. Chasing me will fail," and remarkably, it often works. Cheetahs that observe clear-spotting behavior frequently abandon the hunt before it starts. Because a cheetah, more than almost any other large predator, cannot afford to misjudge. A cheetah can reach 70 miles per hour. But a full high-speed chase burns enormous energy. A failed chase can leave a cheetah unable to attempt another hunt for hours. Collapse from exhaustion mid-hunt is a real cause of cheetah death in the wild. So the cheetah stares. The gazelle stares back and responds. And in that silent exchange, a kind of biological negotiation takes place. No claws, no speed, no blood, just eyes. And in those eyes, the outcome is decided before either animal moves. Now, let us talk about the oldest ambush predator alive, the crocodile. Crocodilians have existed virtually unchanged for over 200 million years. They watched the dinosaurs rise, they watched the dinosaurs fall, and they are still here. Their ambush strategy has been refined for every single one of those years. A Nile crocodile targeting an impala or wildebeest at a river crossing may lie completely motionless for hours. Its eyes, positioned on top of its skull, can watch the bank above the waterline without the animal detecting the crocodile's body below the surface. And during those hours of watching, the crocodile is not simply waiting. It is memorizing. It tracks the rhythm of the animal's behavior. When it lowers its head to drink, how long it holds that position, where its legs are placed, the angle of its neck. A crocodile does not strike at the first opportunity. It waits for the optimal moment, the specific second when the neck is extended, the legs are off balance, the animal is looking down. Researchers studying Nile crocodile predation have described the strike as so precisely timed that it appears almost calculated. Because it is calculated. The calculation just happens in silence. Over hours, through eyes that never close. A Nile crocodile's bite force has been measured at over 5,000 pounds per square inch, one of the highest of any animal ever recorded. A human bite is around 160, but the bite is not the genius of the crocodile. The genius is the hours of silent watching that made the bite inevitable. So here is the complete answer to the question, why do apex predators stare before they attack? The stare is risk calculation. Every predator assesses whether the target is worth the energy and the danger before committing. The stare is energy efficiency. A hunt that begins with poor information fails. Failure costs calories. In the wild, enough failed hunts kills the predator. The stare is psychological pressure. The gaze activates the prey's threat detection system. It forces the prey into freeze, flight, or signal. And each of those responses gives the predator more information. The stare is a behavioral test. Especially in wolves and large cats, the prey's response to being watched reveals its health, its readiness, and its likelihood of successful escape. The stare is the information-gathering phase of a biological system that has been running successfully for hundreds of millions of years. Every predator at the top of its food chain has evolved to understand one thing above all else. The most dangerous moment in hunting is the hunt itself. Misjudge the target, and you risk injury. An injured predator cannot hunt efficiently. A predator that cannot hunt dies. So the stare is not patience. The stare is survival intelligence in its purest, most ancient form. The claws are fast. The jaws are powerful. The speed is extraordinary. But the stare is the weapon that makes all of those things work. It is the first move in the oldest game on Earth. And every apex predator alive today is alive precisely because their ancestors were better at playing it than the ones that are gone. There is one final thing worth knowing. Something researchers have noted repeatedly. Across species, across continents, across decades of field study. When a large apex predator fixes its gaze on another animal and holds it, something specific happens in the prey. Something beyond fear. Something older. A stillness. A sudden and overwhelming sense that moving would be the worst possible choice. Scientists believe this response is not learned behavior. It is inherited, encoded into the nervous systems of animals that have been prey for hundreds of millions of years. The prey did not choose this response. Evolution built it in because the animals that had it survived long enough to reproduce, and the ones that did not were eaten. The great predators have been watching their prey for longer than modern humans have existed, and something in the prey has always known what that gaze means. That is why, even in a zoo, even behind reinforced glass, even knowing with complete certainty that you are safe, when a large lion or tiger locks eyes with you and does not look away, something very old moves inside you. Something that remembers exactly what that look has meant for 200 million years. That is the stare. Not just a look, a language. The oldest language on Earth, spoken in total silence, by animals that have never once needed to say a single word.